So with calls for the entertainment industry to change, we're starting to see that. Cops, the long-running television show that some say glorified the police officer, others say accurately portrayed what a police officer goes through on a day-to-day basis, canceled after 31 seasons. And now we have the screenwriter of 12 Years a Slave, the Oscar winner in 2014, John Ridley, calling for HBO Max to suspend Gone with the Wind from its video library. And it has done just that. So Gone with the Wind was the sweeping Southern epic. It was written by Atlanta newspaper woman Margaret Mitchell, and she at the time thought nobody would be interested in it. She said it didn't have any sleaze, it didn't have any horrible characters that seemed to be the forte of the literary and Hollywood worlds. But that didn't stop Hollywood producer David O. Selznick from purchasing Gone with the Wind for $50,000. And as production started to ramp up, there was a noticeable mixed reaction from the African-American communities, both in the literary and acting worlds. Some saw the Gone with the Wind as merely an extension of 1915's D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation. Others saw this as a great acting showcase for up-and-coming black actors. And ultimately, they did move forward with production, but many of the African-American ran newspapers of the time did instruct their readership not to support Gone with the Wind. And there were pickets in several major cities, including Washington, D.C. and Chicago. And so despite the frustrations by some at the time, they were drowned out by the voices of critics who loved the film, by the voices of fans who loved the film the world over. You could truly say that Gone with the Wind captured the imagination of the world at the time. African-American critics and moviegoers were not the only ones to have issues with Gone with the Wind. In fact, even though David O. Selznick had looked at 1,400 different actresses for the role of Scarlett, his decision to go with Vivien Leigh, a British actress, did not sit well with many Southern organizations, including the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Although it looks like he made the right decision, I don't think anybody could see anybody else but Vivien Leigh in the part, and she went on to win the Academy Award. It was very important to David O. Selznick that he listen to the African-American press and get their input. In fact, Earl Morris, who was the movie and theater critic for the Pittsburgh Courier at the time, had written a series of articles about some of the things he took issue with the novel. He specifically did not want the N-word in the film, or I love how he refers to it, the hate word. What an appropriate way to refer to that heinous word, the hate word. That's exactly what it is. And before the movie was finished, David O. Selznick actually brought together the top African-American movie and theater critics from across the nation and had a meeting with them and assured them that parts of the movie, parts of the book rather, that they had taken specific issue with, he made sure either it was not in the film or he described what parts of it were and the thought process behind it. And although African-American movie critics did not necessarily care for the role that Hattie McDaniel played, they were happy that she would not only be nominated for the Best Supporting Actress in 1940, but she would win it, the first African-American actress to do so. But in a cruel twist in showing the horrible climate of the time, Hattie could not even attend the movie's premiere because of the color of her skin. In the end, Gone with the Wind would go on to make nearly $400 million, an impressive figure now. But adjusted for inflation, the movie did some $3.5 billion, which makes it the top grossing movie of all time. And in fitting with the old adage of once you tell somebody they can't do something, they just want to do it more, as soon as word got out that HBO in its streaming service, HBO Max, was pulling it from the lineup, the book, Gone with the Wind, shot to the top of Amazon charts. And HBO did a bit of an about face, and I actually think it's a good move. They're going to allow it to return, but they're also going to look at it in a contextual way, historical way, and really reviewing current climate versus the time and pointing out some of the inequality that was felt at the time and that still is felt today. And I think that's the thing to do. Use it as a teachable moment. Don't simply erase history that is maybe too hard to bear. We have to face those things. We have to move past it. We have to be better. We can't simply pretend that it doesn't exist. I'll leave you with some Gone with the Wind trivia that you might not know. Did you know that Margaret Mitchell's first choice to play Rhett Butler was none other than comedian Groucho Marx? But apparently when asked about it later, she said she really didn't care who played him. Speaking of Margaret Mitchell, she only lived 10 more years after the production of Gone with the Wind, and she would never release another book. She was struck and killed by a car when her and her husband had went to see a movie. And remember that iconic scene, anybody that's seen Gone with the Wind, you remember the iconic scene of the wounded Confederates? They needed 2,500 extras for this scene, but there were only 1,500 extras available. So they used those 1,500 and filled in the rest with 1,000 dummies. Somebody quipped at the time, if we'd had that many soldiers, we would have won the war. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope you have a great day. I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments below. Where do we draw the line at censorship? Is it more appropriate to offer a historical conversation around things that maybe make us uncomfortable? Thank you and have a great day.